Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second webinar this month in commemoration of International Women's Day, as we continue to honor and celebrate phenomenal women, both within and outside of the Massy Group. I am your host, Audra Mitchell, Vice President of Group Learning and Development and the GM of Massy Learning Institute, and I'm extremely honored to be your host for today's session entitled, Yes, You Can. When we inspire others to understand women's inclusion, we forge a better world. This quote is associated with the International Women's Day 2024 campaign theme, which is Inspire Inclusion, a theme that emphasizes the importance of valuing and embracing women's inclusion, leading to a more inclusive and empowered world. Music to our ears as women, right? So in support of this, it is our intention throughout this month on our Webinar Wednesday platform and other media to celebrate the achievements and increase visibility to persons both within and outside of our organization as the world continues to forge towards equality. Therefore, we are extremely excited to feature another female trailblazer, and you'll see why we say that. But before I introduce our speaker, I just want to do some quick housekeeping with you. We value your participation and engagement, so please post your questions and your comments in the Q&A box, which we will address after our presentation. You're also reminded that a recording of this webinar can be found on the MLI YouTube channel and on our website, www.massylearninginstitute.com. So without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome and introduce another phenomenal woman, Miss Wendy Yawching, who reminds us that yes, you can, and that you should listen to your heart, follow your dreams, and reach for the sky, no matter what the world tells you. So I'm going to share a bit about Wendy before I hand you over to Wendy some more. So Wendy Yawching was the first female captain of Trinidad and Tobago's national airline. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. The first Trinidad woman to hike the trail to Mount Everest base camp, and the first master Feng Shui consultant in Trinidad and Tobago. Her professional flying career began in 1986 and spanned 28 years. Her wings spreading from Liat to Biwi and finally to Caribbean Airlines, where she retired as captain on the B737-800 fleet in 2014. I'm just going to share briefly because I know she will share some other things about herself, but she's also the founder and principal of Healing Spaces Caribbean, where she offers Feng Shui consultations, private mentoring, group workshops, and motivational speaking. In 2022, some more excellent achievements, she self-published her first book, The Courage to Fly, which has been hailed as an inspiration for women and girls. By sharing her own story, Wendy hopes to inspire women of all ages and cultures to believe that they can indeed follow their dreams and achieve fulfilling lives, no matter what the challenge is. So I know Wendy's going to share a lot more about herself. So at this point, I warmly welcome Miss Wendy Yawching. Wendy, over to you, and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you, Audra, for that wonderful introduction. Before I proceed, I just want to check that you are seeing my screen, my presentation deck very clearly.
Yes, I am. Yes,
wonderful.
I am.
And thank you, Massy Learning Institute, for inviting me to speak today, and thank you all for being here. It's my honor and pleasure to share with you the celebration by Massy Learning Institute of International Women's Month. Now, I have a mission today, and that is to inspire you to live your biggest and best life, no matter what the obstacles, no matter what other people are telling you should or should not do. And before we go into the rest of my talk, I'd like to ask you, why are you here today? Why are you here today? Why did you come? I suspect many of you are here because you heard that the first lady captain of the national airline was going to talk. because that intrigues most people. And I understand that. I would come myself. But that's not why I am here today. I am here today to convince you that my story is a story of an ordinary Trinidadian girl who was pig-headed and obstinate and continued after a long journey of doubting and a lot of obstacles, continued to hold on to her dream and followed her heart and one day achieved that dream. And that if I could do it, so can you. So never lose sight of your dreams and have the courage to chase them. Now, the thing is, when people saw me walking through the airport, striding through the airport with my pilot's uniform, my captain's uniform, I could sometimes sense what was going through their minds. Oh my God, a lady pilot. That was clear in those times. That was a big deal. She must have had a lot of money. Her parents had a lot of money. Oh my God, she's so lucky. She gets to fly planes, travel, do all kinds of exciting things and make a lot of money. And I had some people ask, how does a little person like her get to fly such a big plane? The minds were always going because the idea of seeing a female in that position was very unusual, particularly in those days. Thankfully, things have changed and there's a lot more ladies flying the skies. And for that, I'm truly thankful. But you see, people see the bars, the uniform, the look. We tend to judge others by how they present, by the credentials behind their names, by the confidence with which they walk, the outfits that they wear, the job that you perceive that they have. But we're judging them without really understanding what it took for them to get there. We're judging their glory, but we don't know their story. You never know somebody's story unless you try to walk in their boots. So today I'd like to share with you just a little part of my story. If you'd like to hear the whole story, you do have to get the book. So bear with me. I'd like to take you from the very beginning. I was just a little tubby Trinidadian girl. My nickname was Fatso. In fact, it still is to my siblings, even all these years later. My dreams as a child were I wanted to be a ballerina. I did pursue that for a little while. And I wanted to be a park ranger with lions and tigers and leopards and bears, taking care of them, protecting them from harm. And of course, they would do anything I asked. And then one day, let's try again. One day, I'm sitting out in the garden in our yard in San Fernando, Trinidad, close to the mango tree because mangoes were my passion. And I looked up and I saw this magnificent sight of a big jet airplane carving across the brilliant blue sky and the contrails streaming out behind. And in an instant, my dreams of being a ballerina and a park ranger with lions and tigers vaporized. And I decided I wanted to make those contrails. And in order to make those contrails, I would have to be a pilot. So up I jumped and I ran inside eagerly to tell my parents, and this was the reaction. Fatso, girls don't do that. Honey, didn't you want to be a ballerina yesterday? I told my siblings, they laughed. I told my besties, I went to school, and for the next many years, in my primary school, in my high school, all my friends, counselors, teachers had the same message. Girls don't do that. You see, in those days, and it was a long time ago in Trinidad, girls did what they considered was suitable for girls. Girls did girly things. From the time you were a little girl, you did the dolls and the pink dresses, and you didn't get dirty. Boys did boy things. And as you grew, girls were funneled into careers or vocations that were considered suitable for girls. So nursing and teaching, which are wonderful vocations, but they all to do with caregiving, and eventually things like you could be a ballerina, of course, and you could perhaps be in computers. As I got older, that became an option. Boys did all the neat stuff like driving trucks and driving planes. And so my message throughout my life was that girls could not do that. I could not do that. And I tell you what, and I know this because you may experience it yourself, if you hear the same message of no, you can't over and over and over long enough, you tend to internalize it. You tend to believe it. So you take that little golden dream that you might have, lock it up in a box and shove it into a dark closet, and you go and you do other things. And so I didn't do that. I did other things. I graduated from St. Joseph Convent, Port of Spain. At age 18, I worked for 3 months in a bank. I have to tell you that almost killed me because I'm not cut out to being in an office. And then I shifted into becoming a flight attendant at BWIA, the national airline, because girls did do that. And because that's as close as I could possibly ever get to an airplane. So I became a flight attendant. And I ran towards it really happily because I got to fly, I got to be in airplanes, and I surely learned a lot, enjoyed it very much, worked very hard, traveled the world. And as I did that, made lots of friends. As I did that, I also saved my pennies because I all wanted to go on to university and my parents could not support that financially. So around age 21, I left Trinidad and Tobago and off I went to university in Canada. And since girls did do computer science at that time, I studied mathematics and computer science. And yes, I have a degree in mathematics and computer science. Because I didn't have the finances to support my university career, and my parents, they helped me for the first term, but couldn't help me after. I had to work and study, work and study, work and study. So my normal university degree took almost 5 years. But those 5 years changed my life, I have to tell you. So I have no regrets whatsoever, because along the way, I was surrounded by girls from all over the world, but mostly Canada, who did not come from a culture where girls didn't do certain things. They came from a culture where girls did anything they felt like. So my roommate in university was the head of the engineering society, which was 99% male. I had friends who were learning to be electricians and plumbers, girlfriends. I had girls who took me into the forest and taught me how to camp in the wilderness of Canada and to canoe and carry that canoe on my head over the rocks. I mean, things were never done like that in Trinidad. That adventure activities became hot in Trinidad many years later, and everybody was doing it. But at that time, girls did not do that in Trinidad. I'm talking a long time ago. Gives you a little indication about what age group I'm in. So I had to learn this from exposure to other people because I had never had anybody in my world saying, yeah, you can do anything you want. So my light bulb moment dawned on me that girls could do anything they set their minds to, and boys could too, anything. And so when I graduated at age 26, I made the decision I was going to learn to be a pilot. The problem was I just put myself through 5 years of university, and now I'm looking at the huge expense, it's even more now, of learning to be a pilot. My family still was not in a position to support me. They're back in Trinidad. And in fact, my mom and dad were horrified that I had not given up on this dream. In fact, it was rekindled in my heart. And I wanted to do this crazy thing. My mom told me, come back home, Wendy, and get a nice job doing computer science, perhaps in the bank, and then marry a nice guy, settle down and have kids. That was her dream for me as a perfect life for her daughter, safety and kids and the normal life. And no, I said, I have to do this. I want to do this. But now, of course, that meant I was on my own. I had to find a way to finance and support my travels towards becoming a pilot. I have to tell you, it took a long time. The road was long, it was tortuous, and it was cold because I was living in Canada. I call it winters, 10 winters in Canada. Beautiful country, but really cold. I had no money. I had to work and study. My credit card was maxed out all the time. I remember giving up going out with my friends, typical things for young people in their 20s, to the movies or for a little bite, because I had to stay home, save my pennies, and eat something that I'd concocted, which wasn't very good, and watch TV. I had no family support emotionally or financially. They loved me, but they wanted me to be safe. And this thing about being a pilot was not on their list of safe or acceptable. And it took me 4 years to do something that if I had a rich dad, or a sponsor, I should say, would have maybe been done in a year. 4 years of not knowing where the next penny was coming from, 4 years of not knowing how I was going to continue on this journey, and 4 years of putting my head down and believing that I could. Now, those 4 years, again, are expressed in a lot of detail in my book. But today, I just want you to understand that at the end of those 4 years, I had my flying instructor license, which I realized I needed to get more experience before airlines would hire me. So I continued my studies to become a flight instructor so that I could teach ordinary people how to get to fly little airplanes. At one point, I went up to the Canadian wilderness, spent a summer there teaching in the bush air cadets, younger than I was, how to fly little airplanes. Generally, I was teaching flying at the Toronto Island Airport. I was making pennies for flying because flying instructors didn't make any money. Everybody knew they were doing it for the experience. So I had to support myself with another job. So I used my computer certificate, had a job, paying the bills, 3 days a week computers, 3.5 days a week flight instructor, half day every week for laundry, groceries, clean the house, see anybody I have to see, and get started all over again. I worked 6.5 days a week for 2 years. I know what it is to work, but it worked. These two pictures on the left side of the screen are pictures of me doing the very important multi-engine instrument rating. That beautiful airplane had 2 engines. It was my first airplane flying 2 engines, a Cessna 310, 6 seats, wow. And it cost thousands. Every time I came out of that plane, the credit card got another $1,000. I'm talking foreign exchange. But then at age 30, after lots of challenges, I got a call from Liat. Ground school starts on Monday, come. I was there out of Canada in a flash. I left my computer career, I left my friends, I packed my bags for warm weather, and I flew down to Antigua. And that's where my new career at age 30 started. I gave up everything that I had worked for previously. And I had the most wondrous time at Liat flying the 19-seater Twin Otter, top center picture, and eventually the 50-seater Dash 8 aircraft, up and down the little Caribbean islands. And boy, that's when I really learned to fly airplanes. I was a good pilot. And you know what? I was one of 4 ladies at Liat at the time. And one would think in those days, the guys might have a problem with the ladies. They were great. They treated us like little mascots, and they realized how passionate I was. And they taught me everything they knew. I became a real pilot at Liat. And then age 33, old for a pilot, BWIA called me. So did Air Canada at the same time. I chose BWIA. I came back to Trinidad. And I got to fly this sleek, sexy MD-83 jet that you see in that picture. They're no longer being used. That, again, I felt as though I had achieved my dream. But of course, it was the beginning of another long journey. At age 45, I became the first lady captain. And of course, that shook the world because people in Trinidad and actually throughout the Caribbean and even in the North America airports where I was flying weren't really quite ready to see a little Trinidadian lady. I looked like a girl flying in charge of the airplane. One of the people thought that when I walked through airports, I would be the center of attention and I would have my crew behind me. And of course, yes, I was. And when I walked through the all-female crew, that stopped traffic. But I think I stopped traffic the most the days when I walked through with an all-male crew, when every single flight attendant was a male. The little girl in front and 5 big men walking behind her like little chickens. It was fun. It was exciting. It was challenging. Most days I was going against the norm. Most days when people saw me, I had to deal with their mental reactions. I had one guy had to beg to come off the plane when he heard my voice on the PA. He was so terrified. He was hyperventilating. I had, of course, to prove myself to my fellow pilots and management. It was always a journey where I had to be excellent. And I loved every single minute of it. So I am telling you that when you look at me in uniform, walking across the airport, I'd like you to know that the journey was long, the journey was hard, but I loved it. And I'm here as proof. I want to tell you that you can do anything. If I can do it, you can do it. You just have to want it badly enough. Now, many people ask me and have asked me, did you have any female role models when you were going through all that, Wendy? No, I didn't. Other than my roommate in Canada, I didn't. But in the last 20 years, I have seen lots of heroes and heroines pop up in the Caribbean. You, Massy family in Barbados, you have a couple of them right there, right now. But here are some of my personal favorite Caribbean heroes. Each of these ladies happens to come from Trinidad. They're all living somewhere else right now, but they're all maximizing their potential. The first one, the top picture, is Carissa Khan. She's an aeronautical engineer, and she just recently became the 2nd female and the youngest president of the Royal Aeronautical Society in the UK. Yes. The second lady is Carissa Wardrop Allen. She's an aerospace engineer. And she is Associate Program Director at NASA for the International Space Station. Go! And the last one, and one who warms my heart, is Safia Hossain. She is a helicopter captain. She lives in the Middle East. She flies sheikhs and she does she's a test pilot for helicopters, which is a very challenging job. But why she warms my heart is because she, like me, loves adventure traveling. And the picture at the bottom is a picture of Safia Hossain summiting the top of the tallest peak in Antarctica last year. And of course, you'll know that I love hiking, and I've been to the trail to Mount Everest Base Camp, and I just love adventure traveling. So well done, ladies, and well done, Safia. Now, the thing is that we have so many heroes in the Caribbean in all different walks of life, whether it be sports or culture, or for me, aerospace. There's heroes abounding for all of us. We can find someone to follow and to model and to take courage from. You just have to look around and want to. So that brings me to talking about you. Let's talk about you now. Are you living your dream? Can you remember what you felt like as a little person, man or woman, growing up and having those dreams without limits, without anybody telling you that you had to conform or putting you in a box? If you're not living your dreams right now, and most people are not, are you working on it right now? I have to tell you, most people are not. And if not, what's stopping you? There's a whole bunch of reasons people give me. What other people might think, the cost, you're not smart enough, you're not strong enough. Too busy is a big one. Too tired because of being too busy. That's a big one. Too old to change. Too young to do those things. Too stuck in my ways, don't like change. Whatever. I'm sure some of those reasons resonate with you. The thing is, they're all limiting you. They're all holding you back from being the best person you can be. They're all stopping you from living your best life, and you deserve to live your best life. And even if something is a block now, an obstacle now, does not mean you have to hold it close to your heart and keep it for the rest of your life. Limiting beliefs hold you back. And behind every one of them, I have found, is fear of some kind. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, and very often fear of failure. So let's take a little look at that thing called failure. What does it mean? What does it mean to you? I'd like to reframe that word. I'd like to suggest that failure is actually when you learn and grow the most. I'd like to suggest that real failure is if you don't even try because you're afraid of failure or change or the unknown. And I'd like to say that success isn't necessarily having bundles and bundles of money and being famous. Success to me is when you try. Success to me is when you follow that heart of yours. Success to me is when you get knocked down, as I did many times, and you get up again and you say, I don't know how I'm going to do it next week, but I'm going to do it today, what I can do. Success is knowing that you did your very best. It does not mean coming first. It means doing your best. And that all comes down to courage. So let's talk about courage. Many people think that courage does not mean feeling afraid. I tell you what, I feel afraid all the time. We all feel afraid sometimes. Life is guaranteed to make us feel afraid sometimes. Courage is knowing in your heart that there's something bigger in your life than the obstacles that you're facing right now. Courage is never losing sight of those goals, no matter what happens, no matter how often you get knocked down, you get back up again and you shake your head and you say, yeah, I can do this. Courage is feeling that even though I have doubts and I'm afraid, I'm going to try to do it anyway. Courage means not listening to those voices in your head. Courage means not listening to those voices outside your head. Courage means knowing that, or believing, and this is my favorite, that God would not have put those dreams or those desires in your heart without giving you the means to achieve them, even if the road is long and hard. I say courage is faith in action. A wise man once said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Thank you, Henry Ford. It all comes down, we're talking about your mindset. So let's just put down the limits, put down the boxes, put down the conforming right now and dream. What if you actually believed in your heart that you could do anything? What if you actually believed in your heart, like you did when you were a little kid, that you could change that life of yours now, wherever you are in your life? What if you believed that you could really follow your dreams? What would you do with this wonderful life that you still have available to live? Let's start small. If you could change one thing in your life, what would you choose? And what could it grow into? And what are the possibilities of your life, for your life, if you change just that one thing? Think about it. If you have something coming up in your mind right now, write it down. And I would love if you'd share it with me when we have the Q&A. Write it down. If you could change one thing in your life, what would you change? And now I want to jump into even deeper. I want to introduce you to the concept of ikigai. And many people don't know what that is. If you've dealt with me, you know what that is. Ikigai is a Japanese concept of following your heart, following your passion, following your purpose, of doing, hopefully as your work, as your life's work, something that gets you out of bed in the morning with a spring in your step, joy in your heart, energy to do it, passion about it, love to do it. When you're working with your ikigai, working in your ikigai space, it doesn't feel like work. It's your joy. Your success is in doing your ikigai. Do you have any idea of your ikigai? Now, I have to tell you that you can have more than one. I have several. Flying was one of my ikigais. Feng Shui is another. Ballroom dancing is another. Adventure travel is another. I'm an eco-warrior. That's another. Environmental preservation and education, I do that. It's another. Motivational speaking is another. You can have more than one ikigai, but you do them all with the same passion. I know that you had a Wednesday webinar where you explored finding your music. Finding your ikigai is exactly the same concept. It's just called ikigai. It's the same thing, following your passion. Then, when you are working with your music, working with your ikigai, you are living your best working life. And even better, if you get to play with your ikigai, it fills your life with joy, even as it's very intense and very sometimes tiring. Nobody says it's hard, easy. Nobody says it's easy, but the joy, the feeling you have about living your ikigai, you know that you have been living your highest purpose. I challenge you to identify one or more ikigais in your heart right now. And if you find it, write it down. Your ikigai, I believe, is in your heart for a reason. And I say, go get it. Go get it. Why not? It's your ikigai. Nobody says it's going to be easy. We all have challenges in our life, and especially in the middle parts of our life when you have the work and the kids and the money concerns and sometimes the health concerns and the time limits. We all have reasons why it's going to be a challenge. Nobody says it's going to be easy. I know what this hiker feels standing on the trail looking at the mountain top that you want to go to. I've been there. And I know what it feels like, realizing that you can't see where you're going because of the fog and the smoke, and the terrain between you and that mountaintop is rough and rugged, and there's peaks and valleys and precipices and crevasses, and yet that hiker is going to go. I went, and I encourage you to try. There will be physical, mental, emotional, financial, and situational challenges. Nobody says it'll be easy, but oh, it's so worth it. This gentleman is one example of many that I found. He is legally blind, but he runs marathons. He hikes mountains. This is a picture of him at the Boston Marathon and Machu Picchu. He's also done Kilimanjaro. And he has an NGO where he tries to inspire young blind people to live their best and fullest life. What more can we say? That is challenging, and he's doing it anyway. Sometimes it can be terrifying. It's not easy to go against common opinion. It's not easy being out on your own. It's scary, wondering where the next dime is going to come from so you can pay groceries, feed your kids, pay the rent, and follow your dream. Really, really scary. The list goes on. But the thing is, it's so worth it when you're living your ikigai. I am here to tell you this. Sometimes you have to make tough choices. Work or play, lime or study. Buy this donut or buy that apple. Buy that new dress or not because of money. You might have to make tough choices. If you're a flying person, like flight crew of all kinds, your choice to be a flight crew means you're away from your family when you want to be there the most. You're away from them when the kid is learning to walk and talk. When somebody's ill, you're away from them for all the important birthdays and Christmases because you're in New York or London. It's a tough choice, but if you're a flyer at heart and that's your ikigai, you make it. Remember this, you never have to go it alone. If you have people around you that are telling you no, walk away from them. Surround yourself with people who are telling you yes, you can. Most times we need to be educated further, many times we need professional help to help get us out of the blockage or out of the crisis where we are, where we feel we can't move. Get it. There's no shame in asking for help. And if you need a coach or mentor, get it. They're bound. Join a support group, collaborate. There are other people like you, team up with them, have an accountability partner, and read great books. I have a good one for you. Remember this, if I can leave you with one thing, remember this, it's your life and it matters. Dream it, I ask you, dream it big, believe in it, live it fully. Yes, you can. And now I want to throw in another little bit of information for you from my feng shui hat, changing hats and putting on feng shui hat. As you know, I'm a master feng shui consultant and we deal in energy. And this year, the energy of the 2024, which is the year of the Yangwood Dragon, the energy is all about transformation, change, growth, creativity. This year is a year of transformation. And in addition to 2024 being the year of transformation energetically, there's also another energy overlaid on 2024 that lasts for the next 20 years. It's a period that started in February 2024 from the feng shui and the Chinese perspective called the energy of Phoenix rising. It's a period called period 9. The energy of fire is rising, and that energy supports many things, creativity, innovation. But what is really, really important for International Women's Month is that this energy really supports the rise of female energy, female empowerment, the divine feminine. No, man, it does not mean you're left out. It means, though, that the qualities that are defined as feminine qualities are now being more supported energetically by the moons and the stars and the planets, the energy of the cosmos. So the energy of the qualities of empathy and wisdom and altruism and support and ethical behavior and supporting social causes and soft skills in general when you're working and when you are communicating with others, that is rising to the forefront. That is going to be more the route to more success. So I would say, ladies, if you are looking to transform your life, you'll never find a better period than period 9. This is the energy where female empowerment is supported by the energy of the universe. And men, not to be left out, you know, everybody, we have to embrace artificial intelligence these days, AI. Well, I would suggest men and everyone embrace FI, feminine intelligence. Add it to your skill set. It will only support your endeavors for living your best and most powerful and successful life. Remember this, who you really are at core is a spark of the divine inside of your body. And that, we tend to forget it, because of the wear and tear of life, but that is magnificent. That is unique. That is, I call it magical. You have the spark of the divine in you. Anything is possible. Don't let anyone limit you, and you, please, don't limit yourself. Have the courage to try, whatever your dream is, whatever your desire is for change or transformation in your life. Have the courage to try. Even if you see obstacles around you right now, find the support you need, go for the help you need, study what you need, make the time for yourself, and then start walking. And then maybe one day I will get the message from you that you are flying on your own wings, the captain of your own ship. And the answer to any question, to anybody who challenges you, yep, you can. Thank you. Over to you, Audra.
Wendy, all I can say is wow. Thank you so much for sharing so powerfully. And the overarching message clearly is about the power of believing in ourselves and our dreams and committing to them and committing to investing in ourselves. Even if others aren't investing in us, it really is in our hands. So Wendy, once again, thank you. And I know our attendees probably have lots of questions for you. So at this point in time, I would like to hand you, Wendy, over to an amazing Massy woman, Miss Renee Barnett, who will be moderating our Q&A session. Renee?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Audra, and thank you so much, Wendy. That was such an inspiring story. Thank you. All right, our first question this morning. Sorry, you were saying something? Go ahead.
I was just saying hi, Renee.
Oh, hi, Wendy. All right, our first question. Can you share how you were able to stay focused on your dream when others did not believe?
It took me a long time. For the first until I was 26, I really didn't ever expect I could achieve that dream. So I had put it in the cupboard in the box. So it took me a long time. And I'm here today to try to help you guys not take such a long time by giving you my story. Once I had got that light bulb moment, I never looked back. I had my ups and my downs, definitely. I had times when I was discouraged, but I never looked back because I had internalized the belief that, yes, I could. And I also stayed with my core, which is very connected to the divine. And I believe that I really do believe what I've just told you. I believe that dream was in my heart for a reason, and it was my job to do that dream as best I could. So that even when people laughed, there was one point where I almost wasn't hired by BWIA because one of the gentlemen on the board who was interviewing says, but women get pregnant and they have to leave because at that time females couldn't fly pregnant. And they actually rejected me at first. And then other people, thank God, other men, jumped up and said, look around, other airlines are having women pilots who fly, and when they get pregnant, they actually have things in place to support that. So let's get with it. And they called me back. But the attitude in Trinidad at the time, I didn't even know this until later, was to reject me just because I was a woman. And my future childbearing would challenge their schedule. So I wasn't privy to that at the time, but I'm telling you that all the ups and downs, all the comments I might have heard from the passengers, maybe from other workers, they hurt, but they didn't go deep, because deep was where I lived. And so that's how I stayed focused. I stayed focused on the power within me and my belief that was there for a reason. You know, when you have found your ikigai or ikigais, really nothing can stop you. The other things are there are obstacles in your way. There are things that you have to somehow negotiate, walk over, remove, suffer with while you do your ikigai, but they don't actually take your focus away. I hope that answers you.
Great. I love that answer. Thank you so much. You actually answered our second question, but maybe you can share others if you had others. What challenges did you face as the first female pilot from a gender perspective?
That was one, of course. At Liat, I was not aware of anything except the young men thinking that we were cute mascots and treating us like puppies. And I didn't mind that, because I liked being a cute mascot, because they didn't feel threatened, and they shared with me all their knowledge and wisdom, and I learned to fly really good. At BWIA, it was a different environment. The guys were much more sophisticated, at least they thought they were. And when we came in, the previous lady ahead of me had not made such a great impression. So they were actually predisposed against women coming in, the fellow pilots. And I had to prove myself again and again and again and again and again. And after a while, the word went out, she knows her stuff. She's good. She's good. And I started getting respect, but it took a while. And that meant I couldn't slip, I couldn't slide. I mean, the preparation I made for every single flight in that first year was awesome. I would prepare for a flight the day before. I'm studying the flight, the route, the airplane. I'm making sure I know every single frequency I have to dial. I did not take it lightly. I knew that I had to prove myself. And in fact, at that time, I would say I was carrying the future of female aviators in Trinidad on my back. You were asking about other challenges. In general, my fellow pilots, once they got to respect me, which took them about, say, the first year, and they had to fly with me and then come back and tell the other guys, yes, she's good. And you know, she doesn't make you feel bad when you do something silly. She's actually very supportive. She's actually cool. She's actually like having a boy, but doesn't look like a boy. In the cockpit, they got comfortable with me. We became, buddies. We became friends. And the word went out. I never had any problems with my fellow pilots. And in fact, they talked very, very highly of me. The flight attendants automatically loved me because I had been one of them. So my only challenge would have been what management thought of me. That I believe they followed my progress very closely. And when I was a captain, a couple of times I had to make tough decisions, say, when an airplane would go or not go because of technical issues that management would have been very upset about. And at that time, I suspect some of them would have wondered if one of the boys would have gone with it because, you know, girls are more careful or cautious or whatever. Passengers had the biggest reactions. And for many, many years as a captain, I had passengers asking the flight attendants as they come into the airplane, I see a lady up there. Is she any good? I had that kind of thing happening. It changed slowly. And over the years before I retired, I had people instead coming up, shaking my hand, wanting pictures and autographs. But at first it was a woman in the cockpit, including that man who hyperventilated to the point where he had to get off and take another flight that had a man in charge. So the passengers were the biggest challenge. The pilots treated me really well once they realized I knew what I was doing and I was no threat to their egos. I was a buddy in the cockpit, and I really enjoyed the relationships that we had.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. We have a comment here before I go on to the next question. We have a comment from Massy. Not a question, but a comment. FI, feminine intelligence. Love it.
Thank you, Maxine. I'm going to copyright it.
All right, another question. I would like to open my own spa. I already did my courses, and I'm actually going to start a refresher course in April, but I am skeptical. I am afraid that I will not be able to build clientele, etc. What encouragement can you provide for me? This is my idea, this is my passion, but I am a little afraid to start as I don't want to fail.
So
she said it's her IKG passion.
Ikigai, fabulous
right?
word.
Yes.
What's the name of the young lady, the person who's talking?
No name was submitted. It was an anonymous submission. Yes.
Okay, well, I encourage you to know that fear is a natural response to getting out of your safe zone and stretching your wings. It's natural. All right, think of the little bird coming out of the nest. I bet they're a little scared the first time. So you are just behaving and feeling naturally. But the key is to do all your prep, do all your research, do all your business analysis, get the support you need around you, and then make that step. Once you are walking it and you know that you can't just run back to safety, you will be fine. But do the prep, do the homework. Nobody says it's going to be a free lunch. So do the work, okay? And then don't look back, follow your dreams. And yes, as a business owner on your own, it's going to have the dry days and the lush days, the mountains and the valleys. Expect that. Any entrepreneur has those. I surely do. But once you have sight of your goal and you know that's where you're supposed to be, and you surround yourself with people who can contribute to your dream and your goal, you will do it.
Lovely advice there. Thank you. Another anonymous person is asking a question. What if you think you cannot achieve because you're too old?
Okay, I'm going to bust the secret open. I don't know what you mean by too old, but if you're here as part of the Massy family, I suspect you're not yet retired. Yeah? I retired 2014. I'm 68 and a half years old, and my journey is still full steam ahead. I am creating new futures for myself almost every month. All right. So I don't know what you dream of doing, and it may take years of prep and years of study. I would suggest you don't limit yourself. If this fulfills your heart, go for it. If you die trying, you'll know that you died trying. What does too old really mean? Who decided that? Don't you decide that?
I think we have the name now of the other question. So that was Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda. Go for it.
All right. Eric is asking, how did you block out the negative and stay focused on the positive?
All right. The negative always affects you, but the trick, I think, is to let it affect you on the outside. All right. It hurts when people bring you down or try to bring you down, especially if they're close to you. But go back, I don't know if you're into meditation, go deep. Prayer, meditation, go back and find your center. Go back and connect with who is really inside you. That's the person that generates the energy to do what needs to be done. If you are every day, and folks, I should share with you that every day I do my morning routine. It sets the tone for my day. In that time, I give gratitude for what I do have. I'm aware of what I don't have. I know I have a challenging day ahead. I connect with the divine. I pray. I meditate. Whatever your path is for doing that, if you come back into your day with that fuel, the negatives stay on the outside. And then you can proceed with your journey that you are here to do. And yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Thank you so much. Another question here. Well, a resounding well, Wendy. We have that first.
Thank you.
And then the person is asking, how much would you say your faith played in keeping you anchored on your dream in spite of the naysayers?
My faith was always there. It got to be more of a background thing in my 20s and 30s. And then in my 40s and onward, it came back to the forefront. And so I can only say that in the last 20 years, it's been a huge part of what I've done. But in those 20s and 30s, which is the years when I was pushing against all odds to become a pilot and to fly hither and thither to get all the qualifications and start over my life, it was a background thing. It was, I guess, determination, pig-headedness, and the belief that I could that fired me through. So now my faith is hugely important for everything I do. So it's a journey. Life is a journey, and we go through our phases, and you learn from each phase, even if it was a hard phase.
All right, thank you. On to our next question. What memorable moments do you have from your flying career? I'm sure you have plenty.
Oh my goodness. Well, how long do we have? Okay, a funny one, because everybody always wants to know about the scary ones. I'm not going to say them, but there are scary moments, of course. A funny moment was one day I'm walking across the airport, full outfit, captain's bars, hat, outfit, everything, looking gorgeous. And a little old lady comes up to me and says, "Excuse me." "Yes, ma'am." "Are you a little boy or a little girl?" I thought I was clearly a little girl, right? I said, "I beg your pardon." She said, "Well, I see the uniform, so you must be a little boy, but you're wearing lipstick and you're wearing heels." So I carefully said, "Ma'am, I'm a little girl." And I walked away. And I found it very cute, but it's also very sad because she was speaking from her worldview. And she was brave enough to come and ask me. A lot of people would have seen me doing that same walk and never had the courage to ask me. So that's how I realized exactly where people's minds still were. Yeah. And yeah, that has changed, thank goodness. So that was one. Our most memorable moment was also the first day when my first day as a captain. The day before, I had had my check ride as a captain on the 50-seater -8. So I was flying to Tobago and Barbados and Grenada and the closer islands for BWIA. And here I am about to go into the cockpit and sit in the captain's seat for the first time. Well, I didn't sleep the night before, really, because I was so nervous. I walked across the airport with my captain's bars. Captains wear 4 bars, and the first officer, which is what I had been, wear 3 bars. So that's how you can tell. And I walked across the airport wondering, does everybody know that this is my first day on the job? Does it show? Do they know? I don't know what I'm doing. Do they know? I have never commanded an airplane before. Believe me, Rhonda, I'm no stranger to fear. I know it. It's been my bedmate. It's been my buddy. The thing is, you keep walking. I kept walking across that airport. I walked up the steps to the airplane. I said hello to my crew. My heart is pounding. How am I going to do this? My crew was so pleased because they know it's my first flight and they've all been rooting for me. I sat in the cockpit and the left seat for the first time in my life. Well, without somebody watching me. In training, somebody's behind you watching. I sat in the cockpit and there's nobody behind me. And I said, "Wendy, you can continue with this nonsense, or you can just be a captain." And I said, "I'm going to choose to be a captain." I never looked back, but I was really afraid. So I hope that helps.
Wow, thank you so much.
And being a captain is one of my joys in my life. I mean, I'm so grateful I went through all of that because it was the job, one of the jobs, but it was the job that I think I was meant to do.
I almost want to say amen.
Yes.
All right, we have an anonymous comment here. Wow, with 3 exclamation marks. Amazing woman. Thanks a lot for giving us your words. Thanks for reminding me how important and strong I can be.
All right, that's what I want to hear.
Another question here, another anonymous person is asking, my CEO has been striving to empower women in his workplace. He has asked what he can do to help the women to be better respected in a male-dominated environment, and I was unable to answer. Any advice you can give to a leader who really supports women in achieving their dreams?
Yes, I would suggest that your leader open up his heart and connect with other women who are doing that kind of training and bring it in, bring someone. And I am, of course, obviously willing to do so, but bring someone that aligns with his business to speak to his people and get himself and his team, his management team, trained up so that they can actually not just talk it, but walk the walk.
All right, great. Some more comments coming in with all the exclamation marks. Russell is saying, you're truly inspiring, Wendy. You've done enough for 5 lifetimes.
And still going, Russell. Many plans.
And Rhonda is saying, wow, amazing experiences. I am inspired. The next question we have is from Eric again. What is the most beautiful place you have seen?
Where I live in Tobago scores highly. I'm very, very happy here. It's my sanctuary and I'm surrounded by nature and beauty. So for me, beautiful places would always have nature. And that's probably why adventure traveling, adventure stuff has been such a big ikigai for me. So anywhere that I consider beautiful would have been a place where I was out in nature, whether it be mountains or forests or waterfalls or seas. And I've seen many of them. I can't put a finger on one.
Alrighty, thanks. I'm looking at the time. I'm not sure if this will be our last question, but we'll see. What are some of the changes you have seen in the industry from the time you started?
That's an excellent question for towards the end of our session, because it helps to let you know that things have changed. The airline, when I joined BWIA, I was one of 2 ladies. By the time I left 28 years later, Caribbean Airlines, we had 4 ladies. Now I think they're in double digits, and that's huge. So the percentage of lady pilots is still small compared to the percentage of male pilots, but it is hugely better than when I was there. And those numbers, even though they're still small, you might find in the major airlines, it's still less than 10% females in the aviation world flying airplanes. It's still much bigger than it was when I started, when it might have been 1%. So the changes are there. I've noticed, of course, before I left, that the attitudes of the passengers had changed. The ground staff, everyone accepted the ladies, and the passengers were now proud and excited about the female energy in the airplane, as opposed to scared, which is what it started off as. Thank you, Lord.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Wendy. I'm going to hand back over now to Audra. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Renee, for doing an excellent job as usual moderating. And Wendy, once again, I mean, you're hearing all the feedback from our attendees, just how inspiring, you're sharing your story and encouragement and reminding us that the only person that can place limits on us is ourselves. And I have to say, like Maxine, my new favorite acronym is FI, Feminine Intelligence, right? So you really have to copyright that, and but we love it. So, ladies and gents, we're having so much fun, but unfortunately, we're coming up now to the end of our webinar. We want to thank you all for attending, for your questions, for your engagement. Really, really powerful questions. On behalf of MLI and our IT production team, we thank you. Special thank you again to Wendy. You know, we definitely going to have you back joining us so we can hear some more and learn some more. And thank you for your offering to assist. So we're going to take you up on that as well. And I also want to take this opportunity to say a special thank you to Miss Adele Rose of Massy Limited, who introduced Wendy to us. So Adele, thank you. Shout out to you. I know you know she spoke. Adele spoke about you with so much passion, and we can see why. You know, she recommended that we host you here, and it has certainly been a tremendous pleasure for all of us. So one other thing to let you all know, we invite you to join us on March the 27th for our panel discussion. So again, that's next week, Wednesday. And that panel discussion will comprise of phenomenal Massy women from across our group. So look out for the flyer and please sign up and invite other persons to sign up so we can hear some more exciting stories. Just as we heard last week with Ambika, today with Wendy, we have a panel next week. So guys, until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day. And remember, yes, you can. So certainly continue to level up. We're going to see you next week. Take care, everybody.